Okay, it's 12 noon on Monday, December 5th, 2022. It's a regular assembly meeting for the Borough Assembly. Will the clerk please call the roll?
David,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
Donna,
Here.
Bob, Scott,
Excused.
Jeff,
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Okay, we'll move forward. It's now time for the voluntary Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have an oath of office for Robert Akins Jr. Robert Akins will be sworn in as a police officer for the Petersburg Police Department.
Robert, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Alaska and the ordinances of the Petersburg Borough, and that you will honestly, faithfully, and impartially perform the duties of police officer for the Petersburg Borough, Alaska, to the best of your ability? I do. Thank you. I'll grab your signature after the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes. We need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 21st, 2022.
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. Next item 5, amendment and approval of today's meeting agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move. Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move forward with the meeting as presented. Public hearings, there are no public hearings today. There are no bid awards today. So that brings us to item 8, persons to be heard related to the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that has items related to today's agenda? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, there is a gentleman. There is a gentleman that's going to get up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I can hardly see the podium, but yeah, state your name and who you represent, please, and there's a 5-minute limit.
Great.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Dave.
So my name is Brian Smith. I'm here representing myself. And I just wanted to talk briefly on resolution, I think it's 2022-20 that's on the agenda for today. That's the resolution related to the proposed bike park in town here. And I just want to speak really strongly in support of the resolution, and I hope the assembly can pass it. If you've taken a look at it, it's a proposal to build a bike park here in town on a parcel that's slated for recreation, and the materials and labor are being donated. And so I hope it's a slam dunk yes, but I'm here to voice my support for this. Me and my family moved here about 1.5 years ago from Bellingham, Washington, and that's a town with 4 bike parks similar along the same lines as this type of proposal. And it's just a fantastic resource for the community and for families and for everyone looking to have fun on their bikes. And so, yeah, I just wanted to voice my support. I think that in terms of the specifics of the proposal, I think it's slated for a great location in town with existing parking and bathroom facilities. And so I think it's been well planned out, and I myself am planning to volunteer and help as I can as the project proceeds. So I just hope for your support on this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your testimony today. Is there anyone else in the audience that would wish to speak on items related to today's agenda? I don't see anybody standing up. Clerk Thompson, has anybody zoomed in or called in?
Yes, I do have one person on Zoom. I'll let them speak now.
Thank you.
Mr. Blair, go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. This is Pat Blair, 305 Mitkoff Highway. I'm just zooming in to show my support of the proposed bike park. I think it'll be a huge asset for our community and hopefully will potentially attract more business to our community, maybe a business that we wouldn't ordinarily have had. I am in strong support of it. And that's pretty much the extent of my zoom in, but please go for it, you guys.
Okay, thank you for your input. Is there
You're
anyone else? Is there anyone else zooming in, Clerk Thompson?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to items 9, persons to be heard on items unrelated to today's agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak under this topic? I don't see anybody moving to the podium. Has anybody zoomed in, Clerk Thompson?
No, sir.
Okay, that brings us to, hold on a minute. Item 10, boards, commissions, and committee reports. We have one report today. It's from the Early Childhood Education Task Force.
Hi there, I'm Chelsea Tremblay, Chair of the Early Childhood Education Task Force. Joining me is Katie Homeland. We just have a quick update for you. When the Assembly had a work session on the topic of supporting childcare, this was in early 2022, representatives from the SHARE Coalition brought 2 things: a survey showing the scope of problems facing childcare programs in Petersburg, and an idea for a program that could help with at least some of it. The Petersburg Childcare Needs Assessment Survey brought a few troubling numbers to the forefront. For example, over the course of 2 years, there was an 80% staff turnover rate at facilities in Petersburg. The pay rate was a major contributing factor. The average starting wage is just $12.72 an hour. 30% of staff need either state or federal assistance to make ends meet for their families, while working at a job that is essential for other families in Petersburg to thrive. So those are just a few of the issues highlighted in that survey, but we were also presented with a potential solution. The Education Incentive Program, modeled after the Juneau Hearts program. The goal of the program is to encourage educators to further their investment in the profession through enrolling in continuing education credits. This program would give financial compensation to the professionals caring for Petersburg's children. There are 3 tiers of benefits that folks can qualify for and a list of requirements that they'd have to meet. Educational minimums, being in the field for at least 6 months, working at least 15 hours a week, being employed at a licensed childcare facility with adjustments for whether they work full or part-time, as well as the number of children in their care. Again, there are a lot of details. You can see all of them in the meeting packet. We were lucky enough to have Brian Holst, head of the Juneau Economic Development Council, give a presentation to our group and a few assembly members on November 28th. He shared the methodology behind the program, the positive effect it's had on staff turnover in Juneau, and other lessons that they've seen trying to tackle this problem in their community. His presentation helped answer some questions a member of the task force had, and a few days later, we unanimously voted to approve the program. Anyone can see video of that meeting, including his presentation, on the Borough website. We're asking at the next assembly meeting that the assembly votes to release the funds allocated to this task force from the ARPA account during the 2022 budget cycle so that we can firmly begin this trial program. You'll be hearing from us again at the next meeting, but if you have any major questions you would like me to bring to the group that you know you'll want us to address, now's a good time, or you can email them to us at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Any questions by assembly members of Chelsea Tremblay today?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Thank you. So I do appreciate, Chelsea, all the work that you and your group are doing. I think childcare is a very important piece of families and our business lives here in town. However, I am a little bit, actually a lot concerned with government entities, the hospital being one of them. I know in your, the letter it was to the tune of $40,000 a year that this would cost. When the ARPA funds run out, when these things run out, I wonder what Plan B is. I guess primarily I struggle with government taking over childcare. To me, that is best left to private industry. And so I'm struggling with that conflict.
Thank you. I'd encourage you to watch the presentation from Brian Holst because he does address this, namely that the industry of childcare is broken fundamentally, and that what we're talking about is supporting private companies, basically. We have nonprofit, private, and public childcare facilities all represented within this task force, and all of them need something like this to better support their staff. Katie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Much shorter than Chelsea. I will say too, it's not the government trying to take over childcare. This is a small way to be supporting our childcare workforce right now, so that hopefully we can build a stronger childcare network here locally. And with this incentive package, I mean, I'm the director of one facility, but the other directors are also already talking about how excited their workforce is about this incentive package because it opens up educational doors for them. It's a huge barrier for us when we're making bare minimum, some of our employees, to enroll in college courses or take other trainings. And this is a great way to make sure that we're still elevating our childcare program here.
I'd also like to point out, you mentioned Petersburg Medical Center. They would be the administrative throughway for this money, but that is something that they're doing for free, whereas there are statewide groups that would help us do that, and they do charge a percentage of money. So by keeping it hyperlocal, we actually save money. And $40,000 is still not the full amount that was allocated to the Early Childhood Education Task Force. That is also the absolute most they're anticipating. If every potential staff member that qualified for this program got it, it would be $40,000. We are hoping to beat Juneau. He mentioned that his qualification rate there was 30% of staff that could qualify, took advantage of it. We're hoping to do better than that. And by taking 6 months, again, this was already suggested to the Assembly in the beginning of this year. So by taking more than 6 months to look at alternatives, talk about it in detail, and have the time for people to present it to their staff, as Katie mentioned, there is already a high rate of enthusiasm for local folks in town. So they are already looking forward to this, and I'm hoping that we can implement it. Thank you. But again, we will be doing this at the next Assembly meeting. So if anybody has any questions that they want more detail on, I'd encourage you to watch the presentation from Brian Holst, as well as our meeting from the 30th, or email us with questions.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Chelsea and Katie. So if there's no other questions from Assembly members, we will move on to consent agenda. There are no items on the consent agenda today. So that brings us to item 12, report of other officers. And we have a report today from the Petersburg Medical Center CEO, Phil Hofstetter.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Phil Hofstetter, Petersburg Medical Center CEO. Few updates related to the hospital. Last board meeting, we finalized our strategic plan with the board, and looking forward, a very similar 5 bullets that we had previously, but with COVID, we learned quite a bit, and we're working on a pretty enhanced communication engagement plan with the community. We're working with our workforce. Our workforce is going through a pretty significant turnover and burnout, having gone through the last couple of years. We're working on financial wellness. We have had some significant challenges. A lot of the COVID funding that's come through, a lot of turnover, a low census, a lot of different programs. So it's certainly something we want to make sure we have a mid-year review here at the end of December. We're putting that forward for the next January's board meeting. And then an update on a new facility. We had our architects and engineering firm come a couple of weeks ago, and thanks to Bob Lynn and Steve for doing a walkthrough of the potential site up by the manor and up in Hogan. So those 2 lots up there. We are working with our managers and our architects to refine the space programming concept and design to really kind of look at what a footprint like that looks like. And we'll have some more information to come as that goes forward. And then we also have a firm out of Anchorage that under the HRSA funding that we received to based off of the recommendations from the borough work session for looking at evaluating a funding plan for the new facilities. We're working on that as well. And that's my update. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Hofstadter today? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Phil, for your presentation. That brings us to the mayor's report, short report today. The borough is seeking letters of interest to serve on the Petersburg Economic Development Council as the Assembly's appointed public member at large. Appointees will serve a 3-year term until December 31st, 2025. Residents who wish to serve the community are encouraged to submit a letter of interest no later than Monday, December 12th, 2022, to Clerk Thompson at the Borough Municipal Building located at 12 South Nordic Drive, or by sending to Post Office Box 329, Petersburg, Alaska, 99833, or by emailing to dthompson@petersburgak.gov. And I was planning on traveling to Anchorage today for Alaska Municipal League, but I tested positive for COVID last Tuesday and Wednesday with a home test. So I've been laid up at home and I've tested negative now. So I'm feeling better, but I thought just for precautionary reasons, I would Zoom in instead of being sitting in the assembly chambers. So that's my report today. That brings us to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. ComDev has held its first monthly meeting with DNR, entitlement land staff, and discussion focused on timing of future decisions on our municipal entitlement. We're also working on a response to the Division of Forestry's comments regarding the borough's appeal of the state's decision to retain the waterfront parcels at Woodpecker Cove and Blind Slough. DNR did notify the borough that it is unable to convey the upland parcel at Papke's Landing through the entitlement process because the parcels were not obtained through the statehood land grant. The borough may still pursue conveyance through the public and charitable use process. I'll bring that forward at a future date. Submitted a letter to the DNR commissioner requesting he release the stay on selected lands that are not part of the borough's appeal, so these lands which have already been approved for conveyance can continue to move forward in the process. DNR is considering their request. We have 3 new dispatchers that have started training, and thanks to Sergeant Aris, who's been conducting the ALICE training for borough staff as we've got through most of the department heads at this point. Petersburg Police Department is hosting s'mores with the cops on December 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. at Sandy Beach Park. Santa will be in attendance and there will be hot chocolate available. Water Department would like to remind the public to protect their water pipes from freezing, install insulation around any pipes and water meters if they are exposed to cold temperatures, repair any house skirting that may be damaged or loose, and allows cold air to enter crawl spaces where water pipes might exist. Running a minimal amount of water in a faucet during the colder weather will keep water moving and prevent it from freezing. HDR Engineering is now under contract to provide expertise and technical support during the effort to achieve the renewal of the wastewater discharge permit and the 301H waiver. It is expected that their work will be complete in early January insofar as the initial discharge mixing zone study and form submittals to ADC. The utility encourages all customers that utilize electric space heaters to be safe and keep them away from any combustibles in their homes. And McMillan Jacobs, who is our engineer on the Blind Slough Hydro project, is considering extending the bid date to December 12th. Many questions are coming in from prospective bidders, and there's a desire to allow them the time needed to fine-tune all aspects of their bids. The line crew has been out placing snow flags on various junction boxes and transformers around town to make sure they are seen under the snow this winter. And the line crew assisted the elementary school with decorating their Christmas tree again this year. Wet weather around the Thanksgiving holiday filled up Crystal Lake to spill conditions. The lake is now completely full heading into the freeze. A reminder to boat owners, harbor staff will be monitoring floats of clutter to make way For winter snow removal, extension cords should be tucked tight against the bull rail or risk getting caught by snow removal equipment. Also, boat owners should call the harbor office with boat watching information as vessel owners start to travel out of town. Harbor staff continues to meet with the U.S. Corps of Engineers and the contractor on a weekly basis. Western Marine is mobilized with their barges and tug and in the process of setting up equipment. They expect to start dredging by the end of this first full week of December. And the Corps construction leader plans on arriving to oversee setup for the 5th through the 9th. Tamco is scheduled to install a couple of broken piles at the crane dock and replace one on D float that rotted off at the mud line. Aaron continues to finish all the job certification requirements. Estimated completion for all certificates is the end of February. He's also working with some emergency planning folks on the update for the disaster recovery plan. We have a current online emergency trauma technician certification program open. This course is free to members or persons who apply to be members of the Petersburg Volunteer Fire Department. If you wish to take the course but not join, the price is $250. This is a self-paced course that you can complete in your own time with the completion deadline of February 28th, 2023. The enrollment deadline is February 1st, 2023. The EMT1 bridge course will start January 8th. And the prerequisites for this course are a current ETT or Wilderness First Responder certification. If you take the current ETT course and finish before the start of the EMT1 bridge, you may join the class. Enrollment deadline is January 3rd. The Modified Firefighter 1 course will start on January 7th. This is our introduction class. Firefighting, if you are looking to join the fire branch, there is no better time. Contact the station for details. Ryan Weldy is working on preparations for the new fire apparatus and planning the equipment swap for when the truck arrives. The build date for our new engine is set for January with an estimated delivery to Petersburg sometime in May. Our maintenance staff are working on a more comprehensive preventative maintenance program for all the borough buildings. And Parks and Rec will be hosting the Winter Wonderland event on Saturday, December 17th from 4 to 6. Any businesses or entities that wish to sponsor a tree, please contact Julie Anderson at Parks and Rec. And just a reminder, the ice skate pond lights are up and functioning. Thank you to Fred Haltner, Petersburg Municipal Power and Light, Mattingly Electric, Tamco, and the state of Alaska for their assistance with this project. And that's all I have unless there are questions.
Any questions of the manager on his report today?
I have a question.
Okay, Member Marsh.
So the Tidelands with the DNR, and instead we're going to go because it wasn't initially included in the state formation. What is the process for the second option?
Through the mayor. They have an application process called the Public and Charitable Use Project that the borough could use. I'm not sure we're going to go that way yet. That is an option, and it's something that I wanted to talk with Assemblymember Lynn and Assemblymember Kinzinger, who have been part of the Baptist group, to decide how they want to approach it. But the other option is to wait for DNR to turn us down officially and then appeal that process, just because I think I'm not sure I like their logic. That being said, it delays the process if we wait for the appeal. So that's why I want to talk to Bob and Dave a little bit and find out if we go that route. I have to bring it back to the assembly because there will be costs involved. The application is free, but if you use the public and charitable use, we actually have to pay value of the land. We have to buy the land from the state, and that could get pricey. They offered to offset some of it, but they can't tell me what that is, and they can't tell me what the price is before we have to file an application. So I don't really like the process, to be honest with you. It is what it is. And I have some research and discussions that have to occur before I'm willing to bring that forward to the assembly to move it forward at this point. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any other assembly members that have questions of the manager on his report today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Member Kinzinger.
Yes, this is a question for the manager. Steve, have we considered just talking to the governor's office directly and asking for their assistance to expedite this process, since this is part of DNR. And I don't need to point out the obvious, everybody that lives here. That land is a liability currently for DNR, and they either need to step up to the plate and take responsibility for it, or they need to give it over to another party. I think we're just caught in a bureaucratic morass in this, and we either need to seek legislative help or help directly from the governor's office.
Through the mayor, I happen to 100% agree with you, but I wanted to have that conversation with you and Bob when you get back to town and kind of talk about a game plan. I've given our lobbyist our Juneau lobbyist a heads up that we may go this way. The governor's office has been very supportive of improving the entitlement and getting land in the hands of people. Hopefully he still feels that way. I didn't like DNR's response. I had a long conversation with the lady on the phone. She was not happy with me and because I basically said that some of the same things you just said. So I think it's a conversation we need to have and then make a decision about, do we file a public and charitable use application? We can cancel it at some point, but it is work to fill out the application. It takes some time. Or do we just go directly to the governor's office? Anyway, that's part of the conversation I think we still need to have.
Mr. Mayor?
Member Lynn?
Yep, this follows up with, Liz and I have recently spent time with the governor's office relative to the exchange over in Thomas Bay that we have. We had to get the governor's office involved in order to get them even to recognize what we wanted to do with the transfer of the roads over there as part of it. We've got some response out of them, but I'm still not satisfied quite even where we are right now. But I don't think it's a bad idea to include this as part of that, because Liz and I have had and are still continuing to have conversations relative to the transfer of the lands to the borough. That's even the first transfer part of it. So it wouldn't hurt at all to add this to that list that we've been dealing with.
Any other questions of the manager? I have one for you, Steve. With the dispatchers training, when they complete their training and get certified, will we be fully staffed for dispatchers in the police department?
We're still, whoa. Hi. Okay, better. We'll still be short one dispatcher, and then the two kind of lead supervisor positions are also not filled at this time.
Okay, I was just kind of curious. Thank you for your report. If there's no other questions from the manager, we will move on to finish business. Repealing chapters 4.26, 4.29, 4.31, and 4.32 of the former City of Petersburg Code, and amending chapters 4.25 and 4.40 to account for borough formation. If approved in 3 readings, city code chapters mentioned above will be repealed, and chapters 4.25 and 4.40 will be updated and moved into borough code. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its first reading.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. Any discussion on ordinance 2022-16?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do have a few questions.
Member Marsh.
Thank you. I'm wondering what has happened in the interim since borough formation almost 10 years ago regarding some of these sections and chapters. It seems like there has been, it's pretty specific, detailing the economic fund, its investments, and even so far as to delineate the different percentages on different types of investments. So what's been happening since then? And what would this look like? Would it change what has been going on? Essentially, I guess is the bottom line.
Manager Giesbrecht or Clerk Thompson, can you answer that question?
I'll jump in and then Debbie and Jody will have to finish up. So really what this is doing is moving things from the old city code to the borough code without changing the meat of it. There might be some minor changes on
Jody has to speak.
Jody in the economic fund piece. But it's trying to, where they mentioned the city of Petersburg, changing that over to where it's the borough. Jody, you want to, on the economic fund side?
Sure. So the economic fund, of course, we changed the city to the borough. One of the changes that probably looks significant is in that section 4.40.040, section C, where it adds the high grade corporate debt obligations. Well, actually, there is another code in the Petersburg Municipal Code, in the Borough Code already, talking about investments, and that's section 4.36. And this section about, in this code, there's already wording about the corporate debt obligations and how they're allowable for the economic fund. And so this is just updating this code that we hadn't moved over. So the language is consistent between the two, the main investment code and then the economic code. We do have an investment advisor for the economic fund because it's a little bit higher risk. We're allowed to invest in, stocks, and so we have an investment advisor, and he recommended that he probably like 15 years ago put in this group of benchmarks. That's what these percentages are, and it's just to, it's just a measurement to a standard to which to measure performance. And so really you probably don't even need to have it in the code, but they wanted to be as transparent as possible to put it in there, and just to update, because, benchmarks change over the years, and this is one is very common. And so they decided to put that, he would like to put this in here. I didn't ask him to be at the meeting today, but I could definitely have him come in, or not come in, he's in Seattle, but Zoom in at the next meeting if there are more questions about the meat of it, the technical side. He would be the expert to ask that. What else? Did I answer all your questions?
I believe so. Thank you
Okay.
for that. Yeah, I realized a lot of it was just changing the language from, city of Petersburg to the borough. But it seemed like there were some pretty substantial meat in there as well.
Yeah. And so most of the, all of the borough's investments fall under the 4.36, but the economic fund is a little bit different. It just, and that's about 4 million of our $35 million that the borough has that can be a little bit higher risk in investing. And that's because the objective of this fund, which it says in 4.40020, is growth in income is the investment objective of this fund. And so that, that could be changed at any time by the assembly if they wish, but that's how it's been since it began.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions or discussion on the first reading of ordinance 2022-16, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Bob,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
Okay, the first reading of ordinance 2022-16 passes unanimously today with a 6-0 vote. That brings us to item B under new business, resolution 2022-20. This is a resolution approving the use of borough parcel 01014-600 for the purpose of constructing a non-motorized bike park track for public use of. At the request of local citizens, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board requests approval to use a portion of this parcel to construct and maintain a non-motorized bike park track for public use. I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So move. Second.
Motion's been made by member Mute, I believe, seconded by member Fine Walsh. Any discussion on resolution 2022-20? Member Fine Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just comment briefly. Really pleased to see the broad support for this project, you know, and kind of the volunteer spirit here in our community. That's exciting. And, you know, I remember being a child growing up in Petersburg and being a little frustrated we didn't have a facility like this at the time. And so now, despite the fact that I'll probably be maybe not quite limber enough to be using it as it's intended now, you know, I'm still really excited about this. So I'll be voting for this, and I hope we can get this passed.
I have a question.
Okay, I just kind of lost the audio a little bit, but member Mute?
Yeah, thank you. So will this will just be a bike park with no water or sewer or restrooms or?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on resolution 2022-20? The clerk, call the roll, please.
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jeff, Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we will have a bike park in the near future, or in the future at some point. Resolution 2022-21. This is a resolution approving the fees associated with creating engineer-designed biddable documents for the community center sewer line repairs for an amount not to exceed $65,432. Manager Giesbrecht and Director Payne request approval to use this money of the borough's Property Development Fund number 260 to contract with RSA Engineering Incorporated for creation of biddable documents for the community center sewer line repair. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Member Mute.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this contract is divided up into two parcels, right? 41 for the site investigation and 24 for contract administration. Will we know at some point an estimate for the cost of those repairs, or do we have to wait? Do we have to wait to see what the site inspection looks like?
Through the mayor, we don't know what the cost is going to be at this point, which is one of the challenges with bringing these folks on board. Is, Mayor, can you hear me? Mayor Jensen, can you hear me?
Looks like he's still there.
Slow my response until we know this for sure.
No, it's fine.
You got us back, Mark?
Yeah, just for your information, Clerk Thompson, I've lost audio when member Bucci started asking this question, but and through the manager's response. So is there anything showing that I should have it, I shouldn't have it, or?
Maybe Jeff should ask his question again.
No, I was just curious about, you know, if when we're gonna get a cost estimate on this, and do we hire this same firm to do the contract? Looking at the contract and the site inspections, or does that ever go out to somebody else?
Through the mayor, our plan is to use this firm for the project. So get biddable documents put together, get us some cost estimates, you know, get the engineering done, as well as permitting that's going to be necessary. This involves both a structural engineer and a commercial plumber to do the work. And we've heard estimates all the way from $500,000 to close to $1 million as far as what it's going to cost. So it's all over the board, which is why we need some help telling us what, so then we can come back to the assembly and to say, what's the next step?
When might
Okay,
this
thank
work
you.
then? Just a follow-up question, when will this work start?
Steph, do we know when they can come on board if this is approved?
Well, RSA will start building up those biddable documents, but it'll be a couple of months before we can get everything and then start having those conversations with contractors and getting it out. So we're still looking at a couple of months away from even starting the project.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on resolution 2022-21? Clerk, please call the roll.
David,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jeff, Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that resolution passes unanimously. That brings us to resolution 2022-22. A resolution approving a purchase order for the maintenance and repair of the Petersburg Municipal Power and Light EMD 16 generator for an amount not to exceed $325,000. On November 7th, 2022, the Assembly adopted supplemental budget ordinance 2022-15, which approved the transfer of funds to cover the expense of $325,000 to rebuild this generator. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll? Member Mucci, did you have your hand up?
Sure, thank you. So this is one of the generators up the street here? Or one of the EMDs up the street?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution 2022-22 passes unanimously. That brings us to communications. There are no communications listed today on the agenda. There are no items under assembly discussion items that have been listed on the agenda. Are there any comments by assembly members today? For some reason, I'm seeing Dave come up on the screen and I do not see the rest of the assembly.
Mr. Mayor, we're here.
Whoa, sorry. Have to turn it
Okay,
up loud
not-
for him.
We are here and we hear you.
Okay, all right, well, now I see you. So if no assembly members have any comments today, that brings us to recognitions. Any assembly members have recognitions today? Well, I was talking with the clerk this morning and trying to get a paper copy for the agenda, and she mentioned it was our finance director's birthday. I don't know if it's today or this week, but happy birthday, Jody. Have a good, happy day. If there's no other recognitions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.